hopefully in November 2nd we can change that and nullify y'all's president. Lawsuit reform has been a big part of my life and my company's life. I'm very thankful to the Tea Party movement. We kind of relate to the Tea Party movement because a long time ago in the early 90s when we started Texas lawsuit reform, people were afraid to join us. We're tired of big government, we're tired of taxation without representation, and I'm tired of people telling me how to run my life. I went to Vietnam to stop communism. I never thought 40 or 50 years later I would be here fighting communism in my own country.
Right. Come on.
That's right.
You know, I like to say that Texas for lawsuit reform is really the beginning of the Tea Party movement. When the attorneys control all the government in the state of Texas, and we were being sued out of existence, we got angry, we got mad, and we had a groundswell of people like we have here with y'all. And we went to work, and we wanted to change the laws in Texas. People said, you know, you can't do it. It's too dangerous. The lawyers will sue you out of business. And we were very, very nervous about doing this. It was a very scary thing to do, and I could see my company being ruined over being part of Texas for lawsuit reform. But I'm here to tell you that you can do it, we did it, and y'all can do it. We changed the laws in Texas. It's been the greatest thing that ever happened in the state of Texas. The Tea Party is making great strides. A lot of my incumbent elected officials are afraid of their jobs, and they well should be. We're tired of lifelong politicians, and especially the corrupt ones. In Washington, D.C., instead of passing good tort reform laws like we did in the state of Texas, we passed Obamacare. And why do you think that is? I'm going to tell you why. A large part of the money that Obama and the Democrats receive is from plaintiffs' attorneys. They're well funded. Over 85% of the money comes from plaintiffs' attorneys. They're intent on pushing their liberal agenda. They want business as usual, and they want to use the court system to ruin our country. When we pass medical malpractice reforms, I ask them why they quit taking medical malpractice lawsuits, and they just smile and laugh at me and tell me, well, you can't make any money anymore. So, you know, it's not about taking care of the little guy or the wrong person. It's about making money with a plaintiff's attorney. I guarantee the attorneys are lining up in the Gulf Coast for the lawsuits. They're going to line their pockets with lawsuits. Our former Attorney General, Dan Morales, several years ago, allowed 5 plaintiffs' attorneys to sue the tobacco companies. To sue the tobacco companies. It was the biggest transfer of wealth in the state of Texas. The average billing for this lawsuit against the tobacco companies was $80,000 per hour. These attorneys made $80,000 an hour for suing the tobacco companies. I used to smoke. I didn't get anything for it. I didn't get a coupon or nothing. But shortly after that, our Attorney General, Dan Morales, was defeated by Attorney General John Cornyn, and Dan Morales went to jail, to prison, for doing this. There was a class action lawsuit filed against Blockbuster Video for overcharging for videos rented. When the lawsuit was settled, we, the consumer, got coupons. The plaintiff's attorneys got over $18 million. So we got a coupon for a free movie at Blockbuster, and they got $18 million to spend. We do not need any more laws passed in the state or in the nation. We have plenty of laws. We just have to enforce the ones that are on the book. Did you know there are 26,911 words in the sale of cabbage in the deal, and there are only 179 words in the 10 Commandments. In Texas, we get it. We've been very fortunate. We have more of the top Fortune 500 CEOs in Texas than anywhere else in the nation because of tort reform, because of the laws we passed. Many businesses have relocated to Texas. We are in the process of trying to restore common sense to our judicial system, but it has not always been that way. Back in the early 90s, Texas was known as the judicial. Back in the early 90s, we were known as the lawsuit capital of the world. 60 Minutes did a spot on justice for sale in the Texas Supreme Court. But in the early 90s, we came together with a new governor. His name was George Bush. Believe it or not, we passed a few laws in our first session stopping some of this abuse. this abuse of our legal system. TLR has always been about a fair and balanced system. People that run businesses firsthand know the effects of what lawsuit abuse does. Take a case in point is a guy in Washington, D.C. that sued for $58 million because the dry cleaners lost his pair of pants. The dry cleaners had to spend over $70,000 in legal fees and finally went broke. Back in the 80s, my company was sued by what I considered a frivolous lawsuit, a guy that was not really qualified to be suing. So I called my insurance agent and I said, I want to hire a private detective to go out and watch this guy and to follow him and take pictures of him. And I won't charge you for it. I won't ask you to use what I gather. I just want to do it. And he said, no, you cannot do it. And I said, well, why? And he said, because I'm afraid we'll be sued more. So I got kind of mad, and I worked my way all the way up to the Lloyd's of London, the CEO of Lloyd's of London, who was carrying our policy. And I talked to this guy, and he was British, of course, and I asked him if I could do this. And he said, no, I don't want you to do that. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, he said, we're also afraid of y'all of being sued. You know, I said, well, you're not going to pay for it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to do anything that you get from this guy. And he said, no, I don't want you to do it. My advice to you is to leave Texas. He said, don't do business in the state of Texas. And I said, but I live in the state of Texas. I was born in the state of Texas. My business is here. My family's here. I don't want to leave. He said, my advice to you is get out of Texas if you want to stay in business. Also working on voir dire. Voir dire is when you go and serve for a jury and they ask you stupid questions like, how often do you watch TV? What do you watch? Who did you vote for last time? What church you go to and how often you go? We don't want that anymore. We want simple and plain questions about how to choose a jury. Everyone here realizes how bad our country's gotten, and that is why you're here. Together we can take back our country, our state, and our court. We got to keep our country, and we got to make headways back.
In exchange for tort reform for the medical community, would you advocate or support opening up the medical board and hospital peer review panels and making those public records?
Me personally, I would support 1,000,000%. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. It's you know, we don't have all great doctors. The problem we had, we were losing all of our doctors back then when we passed medical mal. But I don't have a problem at all. They talked about making the medical community have a more stronger review board, you know, that really has teeth in it, because doctors do make mistakes, and you know, most of them don't think they're capable of making mistakes. But I would support it.
Well, would TLR support it?
I can't speak for TLR 100%, but if it's good for us, it's going to be good for TLR, I would think.